things we do on this call to start out is kind of along the lines of EOS, which I know you're familiar with EOS. We start
Yes.
out with wins, any personal wins or business wins. So I know you're a little bit on the spot, but I don't want to push you into sharing a win or whatever. And a lot of times we have like 7 or 8 people on this call. It's just low attended today. Um, I'm going to share a win. My wife, Chantel, which Servando, has been
Yes.
battling with skin cancer since August of last year. And we actually had a clear report yesterday from the doctor. So she's without cancer. So we're really happy about that.
Oh, that's
So
great.
yeah, that's a personal win. Business win, we have the boardroom mastermind coming up next week, which is good for our business. But it's also, I really enjoy it because I get to connect with a lot of people that are really good people in that community. So I'm excited about that. So Amber, you want to go through real quick on a win with yourself, and then we'll go to you, Servando. We'll give you a chance to think about something.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh I was very excited last night. I'm a roller derby coach, and we had a really big practice last night. We had 21 people there, which is quite big for our team. So it's been really fun to be a part of that growth. And we have bout coming up this weekend. So overall, looking forward to it. And then for business win, just growing new skills. I've been getting my hands into our WordPress to be able to work more on our website as a part of marketing efforts. And it's been really fun to learn new things on that front. So,
Cool. All right, Servando, you thought of any personal or business wins?
Yeah, personal. Last week we received our 2024 taxes. Uh, we were behind for 3 years, well, 4 years. So now we're working on 2025. Uh, that's a big goal for me. Since we got several banks pushing us for
That's
taxes.
awesome. That feels so good. That's like a big relief off of you, huh?
It is a relief, but it's very tough. Since we did 3 years in the past 4 or 5 months, we have to pay almost $900,000 for all 3 years. So it was a tough one, tough cookie to crack. But it is good though. It's out of our hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and business wise, the only thing I can think right now is we picked out a new job last week for like $500,000. So that's a good thing. Right now, our company is a little bit slow, so that's a win.
Good deal. All right, let's go into the presentation. So one of the things, and it might be hard for you to see this, Servando, but I'll make sure that you get a copy of this email to you.
Okay.
Oh, let me hang on one second.
And in my phone, because this invite came through my phone calendar, but I cannot connect it to the email so I can see it on my tablet or my computer.
So I'm not sure if Karen, can you make sure that you connect with Servando after this and help him get the right email so it goes to the
Mm-hmm.
right email?
Alrighty, no problem.
Okay, cool. Um, okay,
hi, Lynette. How are you doing?
Hi.
we got an echo. Is it echo in your office, Lynette?
Probably. I'm going to mute you.
Okay, it's good to see you. I thought I had the presentation up. Oh, here it is. Okay, cool. That way I can look at one screen. And so, Karen, let's go to slide number 2. And really, this is we're trying to help clients with speed of interview to offer. And we had a situation today that we were talking to someone about, and they have already interviewed first round of interviews, and they're going to do the second round of interviews at the end of June, which is 30 days. While that may be necessary for the business, and we're like, well, we want to hire slow. I want to remind everybody that that is also a way to lose candidates. If you have someone that is needing a job, um, your speed to getting them into the interview and getting them an offer is going to increase your success rate. Now, you want to be slow to hire, but you also can't be so slow that you're losing talent, and that is a very real possibility. So here's what we're going to talk about today: the evaluation gap, why owners stall, and it's not the pipeline problem. Like this again is a decision issue, or it's a timing issue with them to be able to interview. What you're actually evaluating beyond the answer to the values and the TA assessment, lights on in interviewing, the post-interview framework, and then making the offer. So we'll go to the next slide. And really this is a number is, most owners don't have a pipeline problem. Karen, I don't know if you can go to the next slide. They have a decision problem. So we see this a lot. So they finish the interview and without a clear read, they schedule another interview to ask the same questions. The candidate takes another offer and the seat stays open another 6 weeks. We have seen this time and time again. This is us being the experts. We hire all the time. I'm not saying that that's the same situation for your business, but this is a problem we've seen, and we want to make sure we're calling it out. That we have seen people lose qualified candidates because they don't make a decision quick enough. Let's go to the next slide. And so inside of this, answers are easy to prepare for. What matters is everything underneath them. So like I say this a lot of times, you can ask a question in an interview and it's not just about the answer that you're looking for. You're looking for other things in the interview. Because if it was just an answer to the question, you could just email them the question and just get a response. But it's, what most owners evaluate is, did they say the right things? Did they have relevant experience? Do they seem confident? Did the resume match the role? We see that so many times where people hire based on the experience. And that is important. But what actually predicts success is, do their values show up in how they talk? So you're looking at the way they carry themselves. Do they own their story or explain it away? Does their energy go up or down when you go deeper? So like if you're like, tell me more, you're really probing for culture here. And does the TA12 match their what you experienced? Next slide. So you're not walking into the interview blind. You already have the map. So before the interview, you have the TA12 gives you a profile, and this is how the person is wired, their strengths, their tendencies, and how they operate under pressure. And then during the interview, you're not evaluating blind. You're confirming or contradicting what the assessment told you about this person. And then after the interview is your gut check on, is the data behind it. The questions shift from, do I like them, or does what I saw match the TA, what the TA showed? So this is really, you're getting to know the person. You're not just asking them about their experience. You should already know that. You should already know that this person's a fit on their experience. This is really like, hey, I just want to kind of get a feel for this person. So you're going to ask them questions, but the goal is observing how they respond. Observe, like if for example, if someone just rattles off a response right away, as opposed to saying, hey, you know what, that's a really good question. Can I have a minute to think about it? That's not a bad sign. That's actually a very good sign, as opposed to, yes, I know exactly, and they're rattling off a response. You're looking for how they engage. So next slide here is you're not just evaluating what someone says. You're looking deeper what happens with their energy as the conversation deepens. So a strong hire gets more engaged as the interview goes on. You're going to see them relating to you personally. And this is a good time to talk about being nervous, right? Their answers get richer. They ask better questions back. They lean in. So nervousness at the start doesn't account against anybody. I mean, honestly, even if someone was really qualified for the role, they might be nervous because they're on the other end of a decision. I mean, you would be nervous interviewing for a position. You're nervous presenting a client with a proposal because there's a possibility of rejection. It's natural. What you're more looking for is that how do they start to warm up? And as the interviewer, the person interviewing, how are you allowing the environment to be warm? So if it's really stiff and you're not giving them a lot of, like, hey, I understand you're nervous. Yeah, tell me more about that. And you're engaging as a true leader, you're going to open them up to be open more. And realistically, that's what you're looking for anyways in a work environment. You're not looking for it to be so rigid. You're looking for it to be something that is more open. So the discussion is, think about your best hire in the first 90 days. Think of how about your worst. Go back to the interview. What was the energy like? Again, this is more, and the interview is not about finding out what they've done. That's what the resume already tells you. You might tell me how that felt to you, to get a deeper connection to how are they going to relate in the business environment? How are they going to be able to connect with you? All right, let's go to the next slide, Karen. What does energy actually look like? So we have an analogy here of lights on and lights dim. So the lights on, answers get richer and more specific as you go deeper. They start asking better questions. They bring up examples you didn't prompt. Body language opens up. They leaning in and engaging, and they seem energized, not just surviving the conversation. This is critical in an interview. You're reading the person. You're not reading the responses. And I think that's a foreign concept for most owners or people that are doing hiring, is they're not used to having interviews. Interviews are really about getting to know the person. You want it to be a relaxed situation, not, I have a question to ask and I'm going to write down your responses and answer. That's like an interrogation. You're not going to get a really good response. So the lights dim is adequate answers, with follow-ups, minimal questions back or surface level, flat or rehearsed responses. They pull back physically as the conversation progresses, managing the interview rather than participating in it. So I think that that's kind of, again, back to, how does it feel? Does it feel stiff? Does it feel loose? Are we connecting? All right, next slide, Karen. 4 questions. Answer them within 24 hours. So do not overthink. Capture the real read before you talk yourself out of it. So in the first 24 hours after the interview, likely right after there, especially if you have more than one person with you, is, did the TA12 show up in the room? So the person that you expected, or they, like, if they're really calm or they're really relaxed or whatever, is that who showed up? And you want to be prepared. You don't want to be thinking about that too far afterwards. You're like, how did this interview go? You're like, hey, that seemed like this, how this person showed up. Did their energy go up or down? Can you picture them in this seat in 6 months? Again, you're evaluating not just like how they are now, like look at their growth pattern that they're going to be able to show. What's the one thing you're uncertain about? Look, is it a deal breaker or is it a coaching moment, and name it specifically? So one thing that I've noticed about our TA12 is there's 12 different areas. There are definitely some of those that are coachable, and there's some of those that aren't. So look at it as, this person showed up in this way. Is that something that I could give them feedback on, and they're going to look to improve? Every single person that we encounter has the ability to grow and improve. All of us do. And we're going to look at how receptive that person is to feedback. All right, let's go to the next slide, Karen. So once you've evaluated clearly, the offer should follow quickly. So what a confident offer looks like is, you have a comp range. You've given a range, not exact number, singles confidence and leaves room to negotiate without backing yourself into a corner. And you don't have to have a comp range. You could be specific, but I think it's important to say, you're inside of the interview, you should have been able to get to, hey, we're at this level. This is where the comp range is. A specific start date. I want you to be starting within the next 2 weeks. Framing, lead with what you want them, not just what the job pays. So it's important that you're not just saying, here's what I need you to do and here's what you get paid. That's a very low level employee kind of thing. You're going to flip hamburgers at McDonald's and you're going to make $9.85 an hour. No, this is what I'm looking for from this role. In 6 months, I want you to be able to handle XYZ. In 6 months, I want you to be, I see you excelling in these following areas. So when they push back, say, I need to think about it, ask specifically what they're thinking through. Is it the comp? Is it timing? And is there another offer on the table? The counter on the comp, know your ceiling before you make the call. So if they counter and you're inside your range, move. But if they're outside of it, honest about your limit and mean it. So, if someone, and this happens a lot, people will come back and they'll counter on a comp and it's above where you're at. Only you can make that decision. You have to be able to decide this person is worth moving forward with. And then when to walk away. If they're stalling around a clear reason, that's data. How someone handles the offer tells you something about how they handle the friction on the job. So everything about the hiring process is a tale of what it's going to be like. How quick did they apply? How responsive were they on emails? How did they show up to the interview on time? Were they prepared? Did they ask good questions? How did they answer? When you make an offer, all of that is feedback on what kind of employee you're going to get. Likely they're not going to show up poorly in an interview and then all of a sudden be a great employee. It's going to be it's more of a chance that you're like they showed up great on an interview and then they didn't. They weren't a good employee. Okay, so let's talk about where this breaks down for you. Where the process will stall the most is the offer or the evaluation itself. So when you think about the hire that didn't work out, when did you actually know something was off? And then what's the hardest part about making an offer? Is it the comp, the timing, or just committing to the decision? I think a lot of it's committing to the decision. A lot of people are afraid to make a bad hire. That happens. And you will always struggle if you don't get over that. And then how are you currently using TA12 after the interview? So, and what's the missing step? So I think that's it's for you, Servando. We got Lynette on the call. Lynette's been on these calls for over a year or longer. I know she absolutely knows how to use the assessment after the fact. It's a great managing tool. It's a great communication tool. So that's one thing that you're not just thinking, okay, we're just getting this person hired and that is putting a butt in the seat. You want to also leverage how you can be a better leader with this person based on this assessment. It's extremely powerful for that. Okay, and then if you can't evaluate clearly, you can't decide confidently. So the TA12 gives you a lens, Lights interview gives you the read, and the framework gives you the decision. So with that, that's the end of our presentation. I do want to open it up for feedback, for questions, for concerns. I know, Servando, you said you didn't have anything when we went around the beginning. With this information, this was all about interviewing and making an offer. And one thing is, Servando, with you being on your phone and having trouble seeing this, we'll make sure you get a copy of it. Karen's going to follow up with you, make sure you got your email set the right way. And then the other thing is, if nothing else came out of this, I want you to know that you need to be prepared for your interview when the interview time comes. And if you need to reach out ahead of time, please do so. Someone on our team, myself, will get on a call and be able to say, hey, let's prepare you so where you're going to have the best interview you can. Because we all know that's not something that you do every day. You don't interview 5 to 10 people a day. It's just you're a business owner. You don't hire a bunch of people. We do. That's what we do, and we're here to help you. Okay.
And so far, it's been very difficult on my end because we never hire anybody for higher positions. We only hire employees, and I mean, to a point where we don't know. I didn't even know how to fill the application for you guys to see what we were looking for.
Yeah. So you don't have to go through this alone though. Just know that your job is to be proactive and reach out. Don't call me 5 minutes before your interview and go, I need help. Like, let's get on a call beforehand. Let me look at the resume with you. Let me look at this thing and say, here's some questions that I would ask and help you be more prepared. if there's anything, you don't interview people. Like you said, you don't interview higher level people. I have. I have interviewed probably 2,000 to 2,500 people. So I have a lot more experience with that and I can help you with it. Okay.
Okay.
Lynette, do you have anything today?
We are really thick into doing some interviews right now for some positions we're going through right now, like an inside customer sales support role. We're also going through manual screen printers, auto screen printers, and looking for marketing coordinators. So we have been weeding through a lot of applicants. And it's hard because you've got so much coming at you, right? So to not overlook somebody when you're trying to qualify or pre-screen, I think is really important, because there's just so many people, right? So
So here's the thought, right? And I'm going to share something with you. Are you on a pre-screen process? You normally are going to say, I got an applicant. I'm going to look at the resume. I'm going to read it and say, are they qualified? And you're going to have your own gut check, right? Are you using AI at all?
yes. So we
'Cause-
did create like a phone pre-screen, like just major things like, I know you hit on it a little bit about wage range, but if somebody's outside of that wage range and they tell you right away in the phone, it's probably a good idea just to move on so that you can continue with the applicants that it might align with.
Correct. So in a screening situation, but even inside the resume, if you expect people to upload a resume into the application, then I would say, let me make one of my first steps is I download the resume and run it through a screening tool that you've created to look at the parameters and get yourself a score out of it. If you want to reach out, Amber can probably help you with it. We have a resume grading tool that we use. And if you just figure out how to code that into a Chat GPT or a Claude, and you say, if nothing else, it's one step. So I can look at, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to look at people, but you're going to say, what did my screening thing say? Because it's going to be objectively, not subjective. And then from there, then you're like, okay, I like this person. Let me get them on the phone screen. And then if they're out of the range, whatever. But it's allowing you to have one more filter in there that to be quicker. Because if you start seeing it, let's say you battle test it and you run 25 resumes through there and you look at the ones that rejected and you're like, oh yeah, I would have rejected this one. And you look at the ones that it accepted and you're like, nope, the filter's not good enough. I wouldn't accept this. You start to tweak around with that. That's just one step that you're automatically going to reject people for. Because
Yeah,
the goal is,
we're not utilizing AI in that aspect yet.
Yep.
So
yeah,
Mhm.
there's probably 3 or
Yeah.
4 more layers you could do in there, but for sure, just taking what was their application compared to what this is and what is their fit level.
yeah.
Mhm.
We do that. Now, you've said, I'm concerned I might reject too many, and that can always happen, right? But you can always go back if you've got, it's almost like go through the list quick and reject everybody that you know is a bad fit, and then go through the list again and be a little bit more critical. But when you're going through the list, it's about there's 2 ways to sort a list. Reject all that I know are not good and keep all the ones that I know are good. So if you went through a list of 100 and you're like reject, reject, accept, and then you're like the maybes, get to the maybes later, but at least go
Mhm.
reject, 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 accept, accept, accept. And then you got all these people in the middle. You're like, I don't know what to do with those. Well, don't worry about those right now.
Right.
Start with the ones that you've shortlisted. You're like, yeah, this is definitely someone I want to look at. Okay. So and you could, I guarantee it might take you some time to set up the way that you could filter, even if you go into an automation like Zapier and then you get all your resumes are coming into Google. You can automate it to where it automatically goes through and rejects and accepts certain criteria. That doesn't mean that you've automatically rejected them and that the email goes to the person that says don't apply here, but you've created a filter to save yourself some time So then you can go through and just look at the ones that it's accepted. And the bottom line is you might have 100 applicants, but it only takes the person, did you hire the absolute perfect candidate or did you hire a qualified candidate? Right? Trying to figure out the perfect candidate might keep you deciding forever.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yes.
So if you're like, well, I had 100 applicants and there might be someone out there that's really great, but this person's really good and I want to meet this person and I like them. Start to move forward with that. Don't get stuck in like, well, there may be someone better out there. Yeah, there may be, but there may not be, and your valuable time. Certainly with the way that you have already leveraged AI with your policy book and all that stuff, here's the goal. I need a tool to pre-screen resumes to look at what person is qualified on a score of out of 100, 0 to 100 for this job description. So start to create the tool, whether it's a GPT and Chat GPT or it's a Claude project, that you have the tool and then you say, how can I connect it to where it's an automated thing? Application comes in, this is the workflow. Application comes in, goes through this tool and gives me a result and sorts it. Now that is going to take you some time to build that automation, but you'll have a tool moving forward that sorts all your applicants for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that would be, especially with the volume that you're doing, that will be helpful for you to shortlist them.
Yeah, I think sometimes it is easier too when you have like one position posted, right? But when you've got 3 or 4 at a time, it can just be a lot. So
yeah. And you have to say, even if you're like, well, it's manual right now, it's not set up with, are you familiar with Zapier?
no.
Okay. And inside of Claude, you can set up some automate. Amber is certainly more resourceful with this than I am. So I am volunteering Amber's time to you if you need to get on a call with her. But I think it starts with what's the end result? The end result is all these applicants are sorted into no, maybe, and yes. And then I'm going to get the yeses and I'm going to immediately follow up with them. And I'm not going to worry about the maybes because if the yeses work out, I don't need to go to the maybes.
Mhm.
And then if I get through all my yeses and they're like, yeah, this person accepted another job, or I've identified that they're not a good fit, then I get to my maybes and at least I rank them. And then I get to my, if I don't need to get to my no's, but if I ever got down into that, I would.
Or you can go through the no's to make sure that they were like filtered correctly. That's also a really good fast first step. When I would be filtering applicants is like, if this is an easy no, I was usually looking for no's before I was looking for yeses. Like, who can I absolutely disqualify like right away and feel like really good about that? And then from there, find my then find the top and then kind of define my middle, right? And then pay attention to your top candidates, really pursue them. And then, like Brandon said, then you dip back into the maybes if you're not getting traction with those like hard yeses. So like hard no's, get them out of the way, essentially, make sure they're not a part of the kind of overall noise with a high volume of applicants. Identify your really like top people, like this is a perfect resume match and they already took the assessment. So I'm going, or this is a perfect resume match. I need them to take this assessment. I'm communicating. And then while that kind of stuff is in progress, then take time to really sort through your middle people. And I feel like that was a really helpful kind of way to manage like time and applicants and prioritize, I guess, because while I was waiting on communication from my like highest priorities, that's the time I can go through my like that middle ground and identify like the next best kind of options.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think some roles are a lot easier.
Mhm.
Like if there's specific software that we use and they have it on their resume, obviously we're going to want to reach out right away, right? Because they know that and it's easy. But sometimes the roles don't have something like that, so it gets a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
You're really looking at the person. The experience is going to tell you a little bit, but even that, you're like, they already know the software. That's great. And you're like, that saves me time. It's easier, right? But if they're a bad fit in other areas,
Right.
you don't really want that person. You know, you're like, oh, they know QuickBooks. Great. They know QuickBooks.
Yeah.
How knowledge is cheap. I'm going to say that a lot right now. Knowledge is cheap because information is so available to us. Anybody, 25 years ago, you had to learn something, you had to go to a class or you had to go to the library and look up a book and read it. Google came around and it made knowledge much faster. The AI with AI and the way things are now, anybody has unlimited access to information. At our fingertips, right now, every person is equally as smart on saying, what is something about history or what is something about this, right? Everybody has the same information. So knowledge now becomes a lot less valuable than it did years ago.
Sure.
What matters the most is, are they resourceful and are they good at decisions? Example, for example, if Servando was to say, oh, that's really loud.
I know.
If Servando was to say, I need someone to be bilingual, they have to be able to speak Spanish and English. And I would challenge him on that. I'd say, well, I don't believe you do. And you're like, my whole team, that's what they speak. And if I can pull my phone out right now and I can say, hey, Google, tell Servando, translate this from English to Spanish, and it spits it out to him. I just now used a tool to communicate in a foreign language, and which is great. Again, Servando speaks Spanish, and he probably has a very large amount of his workers that speak Spanish as well, and that's fantastic. But what happens if someone comes in and they speak Punjabi, and you're like, yeah, they can't work with me. I don't know how to communicate with them. Figure it out. Or if they speak Mandarin, or if they speak some other language, right? We're familiar with Spanish because it's the highest second language in the United States. But you got to remember that there are other languages that are becoming, whether it's Russian or it's again, Punjabi is a big one in a lot of industries. If you can't learn to communicate by using resourceful tools, you're going to limit the number of people that have high intelligence for you. So for your example, if you needed a screen printer and they had screen print experience, which is a talent that is very hard to learn quickly. It's not knowledge, it's experience. And they came in, they go, why I can't speak any English. And you're like, well, you can't work here. You've just thrown out a person that you're like, I'm going to figure out how to communicate with this person. Do I need to walk around with a Google Translate all the time in order to communicate? That's great, because if they have an experience that's really valuable to you, you're going to figure it out. I think that that's the bigger part about the interview and finding people is not that they know exactly, and certainly, again, with your business, Lynette, some of those talents that they have, the experience. Another example is, let's say if it was critical that they know how to type. Well, that is something that someone can learn, but you're going to see someone that is experienced with typing going to be much more successful with that job if they've already been doing that for a while. Screen printing is one of those things. You can bring someone brand new and they might be a quick learner. They might want to be able to do well, but someone that's been doing that for years is going to be much more efficient with it. So I think that, but you're more looking at the attitude with both positions. You're looking at how do they show up? How do they respond to questions? Are they resourceful? And I gave you an example here, Lynette. I just led you to a solution. I'm a resourceful person, and I said, "Oh, you're screening all these resumes. You're doing this. Why don't you set up a GPT to do this?" Now you're like, "That's a great idea," and you put a little bit of work. You put 4 or 5 hours into setting it up for yourself, but the end result is now moving forward, you can screen people and sort them quicker, and you're saving 4 or 5 hours on every role, if not more. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know we threw a lot at you guys today. Servando, I'm going to make sure that you know to reach out Lynette, get with Amber, and then Karen's going to make sure your email's set up, Servando. And as you get closer to being ready for interviews, let's make sure that we connect, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. I think that's the end of the call, unless there's any other questions today. Oh,
I don't think so.
everyone, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the weekend coming up, and be ready for June to start next week. Take care.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
See you guys. Take
Bye-bye.
care.